Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and this is The Long Dark. I'm back here again after a few months absence from the game and I'm now in a completely different area. Starting from scratch, I'm here in the coastal highway, a somewhat frozen wasteland but rich in shelter. Now this area is for intermediate players apparently, but I do have it set to the easiest setting for the moment just so that I can get used to the environment once again. So for those of you that have never played The Long Dark, it is a post-apocalyptic survival set in the northern wastelands. Now survival games are not the usual genre for me, but this one is a little bit different. I find it to be a little bit special. It's a single player game, but some wonderful environments to explore out there, and I'm all about exploration. There's no zombies here, there's no other players that are going to kill you and take your stuff, and in fact there's not even any building of bases. It's simply you versus the environment, as well as some of the wildlife that's out there. But without any shadow of a doubt, it's the environment that is the real star of this game. It's a challenge to survive, and it will try to kill you at every turn. Fortunately then, in this location, at this setting, there's plenty of stuff for me to collect up and gather. Clothing of course is all important, it keeps you warm out there, and over time it will wear out. Temperatures at this point were rather balmy, -5 degrees Celsius, which is around 23 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you catch yourself out here in a storm, the temperatures will drop well below a -30 degrees Celsius. That's around -22 degrees Fahrenheit, and they will probably go quite a bit lower than that. So what you really need is food. Food is all important, food and warmth, and more often than not, you're going to have to try and scavenge some food. Here is a deer carcass, killed probably by some local wolves, but unfortunately at this point I don't have any tools to slice the meat off of it. So the plan was to come back to this area once I've found a knife or something else that I can use. So whilst there's no base building in this game, there is certainly plenty of crafting, and without crafting you're going to be stuck very quickly. Now the feathers I picked up there can be used for crafting arrows, and you can also use the bigger branches here to craft a bow, and that will help you when you want to take down some of the animals, be it a wolf or be it a deer. As you can see, there's a lot of abandoned buildings around here, and although I was pretty certain I wouldn't be able to get into this one, it was the first time I've been here, and I just picked up a pry bar, as you can see, and I was hoping that perhaps it would work on the door, but apparently not. Over there you can see the frozen lake, and eventually I'll head on over that way to see what's over there. Now fortunately the coastal highway here does have a lot of shelters, as I mentioned, so yet another area that I can go in and collect some stuff. But this will largely depend on your luck here. Sometimes you won't find much at all, other times you can get really fortunate and find plenty of really great things. A lantern like that is very useful indeed, especially when it gets to night. Night times in this game are very dark indeed. So The Long Dark, perhaps more than many other games out there, really is about the environment, and the areas in this game are absolutely fantastic, gorgeous places to explore. The areas like this on the frozen lake, they're both a source of wonder and a source of terror as well, because they can be extremely deadly. There's a wolf over there to the left, you can just see him. Fortunately, due to the current difficulty level I've got this set at, they're not going to bother me too much. Although if only one attacks me at a time, they're not too much of a problem to take on, as long as you've got some type of weapon. Now the real threat here, as I said, is the weather. Just look how quick the fog is closing in here. And with the fog comes a drop in temperature, sometimes a very extreme drop. Now the biggest danger from fog isn't necessarily the cold itself, it's the navigation hazards here. As the fog closes in, you begin to lose the distance, the view distance here. Visibility can become very low. Now the game has no map, it has no compass, so the only way to navigate around is from memory. And if you end up getting lost out here at night or in a blizzard, then you're going to find yourself in a heap of trouble. And anyone that's been out in the wilderness will know just how fast that the weather can change at times. I've been caught out myself more than once. So the little fishing huts here are a potential source of opportunity. From time to time they'll have equipment in there, sometimes something very simple like a fishing line. And of course the log burner there is a great source of heat. At this point in the game, very early on, I'm finding a lot of food here, a lot of drinks, but these are relatively low in terms of calorie intake. So what I'm really going to need is a good source of water, which of course I can take from snow as long as I purify it, and more importantly I'm going to need a source of food. So it's just as well that right here I found a hook which can be attached to a line, making you some fishing tackle. And just behind me there is a little fishing hole, and eventually I'll be able to head back there, carve the ice out and do a bit of fishing. But before I can do that, I need to find a workbench so that I can change the line and the hook into the fishing tackle that I actually need. So I've made my way across the frozen lake here, and over on the other side there's appearing to be some more houses and some more huts. A few burnt down, who knows what's happened to them, and beyond that, some houses are still blissfully intact. It's unlikely that a house is going to contain a workbench. That's the sort of thing that you really need to find in a garage or a similar type of building. But the sort of things you can find in houses are beds and occasionally food. Now, don't let the game deceive you here. Sometimes you can start out and find a lot of resources, just as I have. But things can turn around very, very fast. Sometimes all it takes is an incoming sudden blizzard, or you to slip down an embankment like this and twist your ankle. And they will present their own challenges. Fortunately for me though, already I'm stacked right up with resources, but I'm going to need a place to store some of them. So sooner or later, I will choose one of these houses. And you know, even though at the moment I'm fully aware that I've got the difficulty setting right down, every time I hear a wolf, I turn around and try and find exactly where it is. So it's great to get indoors away from all of that. Now, if any of you have watched my previous playthrough of the game, you'll know that I normally play around Mystery Lake, and this represents the first time actually that I've left that area.
Okay.
Okay, indeed. Venison's a pretty nice meal. But the thing is, all of the calories you get from the food and drinks out here really don't last you all that long. You do burn up calories very, very fast. Especially if you get caught out in the cold, you start moving too fast, or when you need to break up materials for resources. So here I managed to find a garage. Although personally speaking it seems much more like a warehouse here. There's a whole lot of stuff that I can find very, very useful. A couple boxes you can break down into tinder plugs, but I've already done that a few times here. So I've got more than enough of that at the moment. Books are also good for burning when you need fires. So here we are then at the workbench, a place for crafting. And there's quite a few things that you can actually craft. Some of these resources are actually very easy to get hold of. Others are a lot harder. So what I want to do here is create the fishing tackle, and once I've done that I should have the ability to get a pretty much constant source of food, although eventually the line can snap. And the other problem with that is that food has an expiry date. The longer you keep hold of it, the more rotten it slowly gets, to eventually it's pretty much useless, and if you eat it in a bad state you can make yourself ill. So just looking at a few of the other recipes here, wondering just if I've got any materials for them. There you could see the bow, and here is the arrow that I was talking about earlier, and unfortunately all I've got at the moment is some crow feathers. So not much use to me at the moment then. Let's get back to the fishing tackle and get on with that. You can see at the top of the screen there that there's 4 hours of daylight left. Now one thing you don't want is to be stuck outside at night. It gets very, very cold, very dark, and that's a surefire way to die. Fortunately then, there's plenty of houses around here with plenty of beds, so plenty of places to stop down for the night. Before I get to that though, let's head on out there and have one more look around before the sun sets.